our people in every home.
The Yom Kippur War has become a black spot in Israel's history. It's known as the war that no one saw coming, and 50 years later, it is still a national trauma. Once the war was over, people discussed mainly the political ramifications and not their personal experiences. Yuval Neria, a PTSD psychologist, explains.
It was really a big stigma at the time, speaking about fear, shell shock, ambivalence, and there was really, again, no room to address a full spectrum of feelings.
50 years later, Manny Shapira, like many others, is still dealing with his experiences from that war. Now, finally, he is ready to talk.
To this day, I remember they told us that, and I don't know why they said it like that, you guys are now going to the Golan. But we have no idea what's going on at the Golan Heights. We went into the unknown. As we reach the top, I see some glint in the grass, and I think there's something there. And I say to the guys, there's a sparkle there, shoot there, maybe there's Syrians in the bush. They told me to stop bullshitting, there's no way. And at one point I had a meltdown and shouted. And because I shouted, they shot. Some of the bullets were tracers. They set fire to the grass. It revealed 3 Syrians with an RPG. This was a major moment.
More than 20 years later, Manny's son, Itamar, is fighting his own memories from a different battlefield, Lebanon.
I remember the feeling of sitting in a bush in Lebanon on a Saturday morning, looking at the landscape through the leaves and thinking, something here is not normal.
Much like his father, Itamar recalls one incident that haunts him to this day.
We started with 3 positions. We were 4 people at the position I commanded. At some point in the afternoon, the sergeant reports to the officer, I recognize a man with a vest and a Kalashnikov. Give me permission to shoot him. It took about 30 seconds to a minute until that figure entered the frame of our officer. Then he says, I see him. You have permission. The sniper who was sitting in the sergeant's position aims, shoots and hits him from 400 meters, here in the shoulder. While falling, the terrorist releases a burst of gunfire. The shots enter our position. A sniper from the team below me is sitting, and I see him, turning to me and making a gesture with his hands, touching his head, and meanwhile leaves are falling. It was like a scene from a movie in slow motion. He felt the bullet that entered the position. The bullet went over his head. I look to the side, and I only see a medic on the team in a fetal position. We approach the medic, Amir, open him up, straighten him out. He was hurt, and as if from a movie, a blood stain spreads on his shirt, and he tells us, tell my girlfriend and my parents that I love them.
The guilty feeling hasn't left him.
I forgot to do one thing as a position commander, and that is to tell my guys to put on helmets, which is the first step to prepare for an event that goes from routine to emergency. I understand that there could have been a completely different disaster here, and that as a commander I did not do my job.
The mental toll this incident took on Itamar is still apparent.
I think it put me in a position to be more precise and demand more from myself. It's a kind of obsession to be better, but sometimes I take it too far.
Itamar is always ready for the worst, in the bank or in a restaurant or just being at work. The Yom Kippur War left its mark on his father as well. The necessity to always be ready, expecting a war to start when turning on the radio. And even something as simple as sleep became a challenge.
I don't sleep well at night. I always have all kinds of dreams. I wake up many times at night because of the dreams. And to this day, I do not sleep well.
Psychologist Yuval Neria was one of the first researchers to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder after the Yom Kippur War. To him, the answer is clear.
You know, you're not alone first. You know, many people have that following traumatic experiences, and there is a name for it: post-traumatic stress disorder.
Although both father and son are not diagnosed by a professional or even consider themselves dealing with PTSD, the symptoms they deal with match a person with highly functional PTSD.
Well, that's very common, especially among people who belong to a culture that emphasizes strength and resilience and some machoism, perhaps. It was very common in Israel for many years. It seems to me that they might be aware to the symptoms, but they are not aware to the fact that those symptoms may have a name.
Today, PTSD is recognized by the Israeli Defense Ministry as a mental disability, but it's hard to know how many are actually dealing with the disorder. Statistics in Israel say 1 out of every 5 combat soldiers finishes their military service with PTSD. Soldiers fighting in the Yom Kippur War and dealing with PTSD were recognized only in the 1990s, 20 years after the war. Many in Itamar might be highly functional, but like many other Israelis, they are still fighting.
That report was brought to you by Bishvil Hamachar, an organization that helps veterans share their stories. To donate to their important and amazing cause, have a look at the link below on the screen.